Hi everyone, thank you for inviting me to speak today. My name's Andy Buckland, I'm Scientific Advisor with WG Access. We are a market access agency and what I'm going to talk about today is really what market access is and how that relates into MedComms and really how we do that. But also talk a little bit about why you might like a career in market access and then specifically about writing within market access. So I want to start really by talking about what is MedComms, what do you believe MedComms to be? And that's really the communication of medical, scientific and economic information to decision makers. Those decision makers will be healthcare professionals, the patients and payers. This is most often around a disease, a particular disease or a specific drug, and generally on behalf of a pharmaceutical or medical device company. So what about market access? And really I think market access is really a branch of MedComms. But market access is really the process that ensures that appropriate patients who would benefit from treatment get rapid and maintained access to that treatment at the right price. If we look a little deeper at this, what does that mean? So the process, we're looking at internal and external processes here. So internally, we're talking about the pharma company in terms of their research and development investments, their trial designs, that kind of thing, to get products through to launch. And externally, we're talking about national and local processes there, for example, health technology assessments, local decisions on formulary inclusion. Benefits, obviously the benefits, they're the health outcomes that a patient is looking for in that treatment, hard outcomes like improved survival, but also other outcomes such as quality of life. When we're talking about access, obviously the company we're working for obviously wants to get their product onto the market as quickly as possible, but also we're talking about the patient and the provider here, you know, rapid, once a product gets launched, then the patient really wants to be able to get access to that treatment as quickly as possible. And maintained access is important as well. It's not only about launch, but it's actually further on into the life cycle when drugs become challenged by cheap generic drugs once the drug goes off patent. And obviously changes in indication and formulation as the drug goes through its life cycle. And then we look at the right price. Obviously cost effectiveness is a huge marker, particularly in the UK, and that's really about determining, well, what benefit can the product provide, but can it provide it at the right price? So what do we do as a market access agency? Well, we're really there to advise pharmaceutical and med device companies on how to optimise the market access opportunities for their product. And really that then boils down to, well, educating and informing the decision makers about the health and cost benefits of new and existing therapies, being supported by the clinical and economic data. Now this might take the form of both internal and external communications, but it may be scientific and commercial communications. For example, an example of a scientific one would be a health technology assessment where we're pulling together all the evidence for a particular product. But external communications that are going out to maybe decision makers, healthcare professionals, such as a budget impact tool that sits on an iPad. And obviously we work in a variety of formats and media, so standard software such as Word and PowerPoint, but also design and programming software that enables us to deliver our communications, standard printed materials, but electronic materials, but also things that are going to be hosted on a website or interactive tools that we can put on an iPad and put in front of the client's customers. So where do we work? Well, we work across the life cycle of the product. We can get involved pre-launch when the product is still going through clinical trials. And there, for example, some of the stuff we're doing is identifying gaps in the evidence and trying to identify the right strategy to fill those gaps. We'll work pre-launch in terms of developing value dossiers where we pull together all the evidence for a product, the clinical and economic evidence, the unmet need, the burden of the disease. And we'll develop health technology assessment submissions. That will take us through launch, and then post-launch it's about making the the healthcare environment aware of that new product and different ways in which we can do that. But also maintaining that value as life goes on and the drug comes off patent, and we talk about the challenges of generics, those cheaper generics. So it's really about providing integrated support across the life cycle of the product. So really the three real pillars which we work to, which is the strategy element, the evidence generation, and by that I mean health economics, so developing cost effectiveness and budget impact arguments, systematic literature review and statistical analyses. And then it's the value communication. How do we pull all that evidence and that strategy together and deliver it to the right people at the right time? An example of the work we do would be the health technology assessment, which really pulls on those three pillars. Health technology assessment is important globally. The examples I present here are UK and Ireland, for example, NICE and the NCPE. But really we're involved right across pre and post submission. We've got data generation, as I said, systematic review. We develop the story flow for the product. What is the story they're trying to tell that sits behind the evidence that the company are putting forward? What's the unmet need that they're trying to fill? We'll do the health economic modelling to determine the cost effectiveness of the product. And we'll pull all that together into a submission document. And that will get submitted to the HTA body. They'll then assess that, and then post-submission will then be available to respond to any questions that they may have, the HTA body may have, and we'll be responding to the draft advice document where they recommend whether the product will be funded or not. And then we may well get involved in resubmission if the product doesn't get a positive recommendation. So that really pulls on everything that we do in terms of those three pillars, that strategy, that data generation, and that value communication. So what are the challenges we face when doing this? Well, we obviously work in a very complex scientific world, and we have to deal with many different audiences. So it's about trying to work with rigor, but bear in mind that we have to write towards different audiences with different levels of detail. We're obviously working in an area of much legal and process complexity, so we have to keep up to date. Our clients operate in a very flexible world, and we have to be available to work in a suitably flexible manner with them. Obviously competition, very crowded, so we have to develop our communications in the right way, bearing in mind how much time, for example, a doctor or a nurse may have to work with us. And obviously maintaining good relations. So what does that mean for market access writing? And I'll come back to my first slide where I talked about what I believe MedComms to be. And although writing within market access, we may be tailoring our communications to different audiences, and the materials we produce may be slightly different, but ultimately market access writing is still about communication of that medical, scientific, economic information to decision makers. So WG, I think different agencies deliver market access in different ways. There are some companies out there who solely deliver market access. I know there's some MedComms agencies who have started to dip their toe into market access. With WG, we're part of the Grey Healthcare Group, and within that we have ourselves, we have Darwin, who are a medical education agency, and we have GHG London, who are our advertising agency. And we're all part of a bigger network of agencies, WPP. So I guess we have access to a huge network of resources, but it also means we can work in a very collaborative way. So we'll try and deliver solutions to our clients which pull on those different aspects of the business. And we try and put the right individuals in place from across those agencies to deliver those services. So it is a very collaborative environment. So just thinking about market access, why you might like to work in market access. I think obviously broad experience to be gained, wide range of therapy areas, working across multiple disciplines. If we think about the different elements that go into market access, the health economics, the data generation, the systematic review, the strategy elements, you get to work across all of those different disciplines. And obviously working with global experts in their field. And I think there's possibilities, you come into an agency working in one field and there's possibilities to move around. Just some of the examples there, medical writing, health economics, the creative side, the consultancy side. And really it's fast paced, it's challenging, it's never dull. And obviously we offer training, whether that's formal training arranged with external experts, continual mentoring, ongoing training from colleagues when you're on projects, and that internal training offered by colleagues, which may be lunch and learn sessions and sharing best practice. But it's all about offering tailored training opportunities to meet the individual needs. So I just want to cover a little bit about how I got into market access, and really I did a PhD, worked in medical research, reached that crossroads that I think that a lot of people reach, and really discovered that the MedComms industry existed. And I looked at MedComms, medical writing, and eventually got a job as a researcher for a market access agency many years ago. Within that agency, I changed roles to become a market access writer, developed up through the writing roles to become principal writer, and headed up a writing team, and now I've subsequently moved on to WG, where I'm a scientific advisor. So you can see the route through that many writers indeed take. So typical day for a writer in market access, there isn't one. There's many different things that you could get involved in. Just some of the examples here, it's about developing content for a value proposition slide deck. It's about discussing strategy and content with a client for a NICE submission. It's about looking at someone else's work. It's reviewing other people's work and making sure it's telling the right story and it's good enough quality to go out to the client. It's attending training courses. It's sitting down with a health economist and getting a brief on a cost effectiveness model so you can properly describe that for a health technology assessment submission. So there's a whole range of different things that you'd be involved in as a writer with a market access agency. What do we look for in a market access writer? Well, I think all of these things you see here are the real basis for the starting point for a writer, for them to develop their career, for us to get the most out of the team, and really for us to be able to deliver the quality deliverable to the client on time and on budget. I think I'd just like to finish by thanking you all, and just to say that we're always keen to receive interesting CVs. Thank you very much for your time.